Hey friends, this is Wendy. I am so excited to be here with you today. I received in the mail 2 packs of markers from Ohuhu. I've never used Ohuhu markers, and today I'm going to give you my honest review of these markers. To start, the markers come in different types of packs, and in the pack I received, I got this cool booklet that kind of shows you everything there is to offer in the Ohuhu series. And I got the Honolulu set. Now, I didn't request a specific set, but this is what was sent to me. There's also this cool, like, a rubbery mat that you can color on and put in between pages if you're coloring like in an adult coloring book to prevent bleeding. Here's my full set. There's 48 markers in here, and this is the Honolulu series, and I have linked directly to it below the video. Before I get too far into this, I do want to make mention that there is a discount code for 10% off. I have put it on the screen and put it below the video in the description if you're interested in purchasing your first set of Ohuhu markers. Now, here I swatched all the colors myself, not realizing that down inside of the marker pouch was actually a printed swatch. Now, I ended up keeping this and ended up being glad I did it because this is the cardstock that I normally color on with my alcohol-based markers. And so now I just have 2 swatches. I have the swatch on cardstock I normally color on, and then I have the swatch that fits beautifully inside the marker pouch that the markers actually came with. So you can see them both here, and I was happy I swatched them twice. It took me quite a while to do this, but I really feel like to have a good grasp on how to use the markers, you need that. I really love that the markers come in pouches. This is really cool because you're able to then store everything and travel with it very easily. This is their acrylic marker set. There's 24 of these, and they're beautiful. Now, recently my sister broke her foot and my daughter broke her arm. My daughter won't allow me to write on her arm until the last day before she takes her cast off, but I fully plan on doodling and doing something fun with these markers before that happens, before that cast comes off. Also, these markers can be used on porous and non-porous surfaces, and they dry really quick, and you can use them on black cardstock. So I put them to the test with their little swatch that they came with, and I swatched all the colors on both black and white. This little paper here that's a printout came with this pack, so I didn't have to do anything except sit and enjoy swatching out the colors. This is a really fun and relaxing thing to do. These markers worked wonderfully. I'm super impressed with them, and I will definitely be using these for decorating envelopes, decorating on items that are not paper, like a cast. I mean, these are perfect to have on hand if you've got an accident-prone person in your life. You could write on metals with these. There's lots of cool things you can do because they're acrylic, so they dry like a paint, an acrylic paint. So these are just really fun and cool. And then I went ahead and I did a little bit of hand lettering just to see how they would work. I am not good at all at hand lettering. If I'm being honest, I'm pretty bad at it. I haven't practiced much. I got on a little kick, I don't know, several years ago and did it just enough to learn a few things, but frankly never stuck with it. So, which is kind of normal for me. So, I tested it out here. The nib is really nice and supple, so it moves well when you want to, like if I push down harder, I get that thicker line. If I pull up, I get that thinner line. So you've got that kind of brush tip going for you here. And then, I don't know, I just found these to write really consistently and to show up beautifully on black cardstock. So I'm using black cardstock here that just was in my stash to write on with some different colors to just see how they turned out. I had to use the white one just to see what it looked like, and it was beautiful. So I'm very, very excited to have these. I feel like they're going to come in handy for lots of random things that I'm not even thinking about right now. But I can definitely see doodling with them and doing some different fun stuff on things that are not cardstock or paper. All right, so after I did just a little bit of, hand lettering and I swatched these, I put these away and I found that there was this cool little handle that you can pull out of the middle of the pack. And at first I was like, ooh, I wonder if this would hold these, but it doesn't. And so I just stacked those on top, pulled the little handle out of the case and then zipped them up. And now it's like its own little carrying case. And you could take this with you on the go. I think this would be a really fun thing to buy for a kiddo also. Like when a kid in your life that's really into art, really enjoys art, or maybe a kid going off to college, something like that. I think that that would be a cool gift. All right, so I went through my stamps and I grabbed a couple of stamps from Trinity Stamps to create a fun card. I have a background stamp I'm going to use from Honeybee Stamps, and then these little characters are from Trinity, and I'll link to the stamp sets that I used below the video. I'm using Honeybee's intense black ink that is specially used for alcohol markers. And I'm going to stamp the images a couple of times. Originally, I was only going to color this little cowboy with riding the Highland cow. And then I decided I also wanted to color the Highland cow to make sure I had plenty of opportunities for coloring. So let's talk a little bit about what makes Ohuhu markers different from, say, Copic markers. For one thing, the price point. The price point is excellent on Ohuhu markers in comparison to Copic markers. They are much less expensive. However, I found that the quality was just as good as a Copic marker. In fact, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I actually liked the nib on the Ohuhu marker better than the nibs on my Copics. It seems like it comes to a sharper point, and it felt easier to get like a fine line with versus some of my Copics. I feel like the nibs are a little bit thick at the tip. So I found that to be very easy. The numbering mechanism for the Ohuhus is different than the Copics, and I found it pretty easy to navigate. And this is my first time coloring anything with them. And you can see here that it turned out pretty good. I was pretty pleased with how everything came together and felt confident that if I used these markers a few times, I would get a handle on how to use them very well. They have a colorless blender in the Honolulu series pack, so I was picking up some ink off of one of the pink pins there and adding it to the ears and the cheeks of these little cows. That's just a really easy way if you don't have a whole lot of markers. That's an easy way to get variation in colors. Here I'm doing it again without having to have a whole separate marker. I found that I was able to color the whole scene and both of these critters and got these little images here with the markers I had, but I did find myself really wanting more options for colors. So, admittedly, I'm probably going to be purchasing some Ohuhu markers. Recently, I've been kind of in the market for wanting to try other alcohol-based markers, but haven't wanted to spend the money. Ohuhu was so kind to reach out to me and offer these to me if I would do a review. They did not tell me it had to be a good review. They just wanted me to review them, and I think that that just shows that they're confident in their product and they know that I was going to like them. And I do. I like them very much. I will be purchasing additional sets of these markers to kind of fill out some of my colors. That would be the one thing I would say is going to be a bit of a challenge is now that I have the Honolulu set, I'm going to have to pay special attention as I go through and purchase other sets that I don't get a bunch of duplicates. I admittedly did not do a whole bunch of research to find out if they have that detailed out somewhere on their website. I did take a quick cursory look, but I wasn't able to find any details about that. But I'm sure they have it. I just didn't find it. So here I'm going in and I'm just using 2 color combo coloring. I'm using a dark and a light essentially in each color, simply because I didn't have a humongous pool of colors to choose from. So instead of doing like a 3, 4, or 5 color blend, I just did 2 color blends, and I changed up the different greens that I was using for my background. And then same for my browns. I just kind of tried to change up the colors so that there would be some variation. And I really like how this entire scene turned out. It's very simplistic. There's not a whole lot of crazy detail as far as my coloring goes. I just kind of went dark and light, and I let the image do the rest. I was really, really, really happy with the markers and how they performed. Specifically, when I color the sky blue, I did this intentionally because I wanted to see how the markers would cover in a really large area. I know that for me, with sometimes when I'm using an alcohol marker and I color a large area, it can struggle to really get colored well and look how I had hoped. And so in this case, when I went through and colored that large area at the top with the blue, it turned out fantastic. I was really pleased with the results. I went over it just a couple of times and it looked awesome. Ohuhu does make ink refills for 51 of their colors, and they say that they're coming out with more. Ideally, I would love to see, of course, an ink refill for every color that they offer, so I'm sure that that is something they're working towards. Their ink refills are $4.99, and it comes with quite a bit for the refill. Each marker is $2.99, so the price point is really good on these markers, and I gotta say the quality's fantastic. I'm really happy with it. So here you can see the finished product. I feel like it came together great. Is it the most intricate coloring I've ever done as far as shading and all of that? No, but I still feel like it turned out really beautiful. I'm really happy with it. I feel like it's kind of like a moody sky a little bit. Maybe some clouds rolled in a little bit there. And then I've got these adorable little critters to add to the front of this, which just make it that much cuter. And I love how this turned out. So after I get everything placed, it'll say, "Howdy partner, happy birthday." And I've got my little fella riding his Highland cow there. And I'm going to use some foam tape to pop up this word howdy. And then the rest of it will just get glued down onto... Actually, no, I think I popped it all up, to be honest with you. I used Dimension for the whole thing. Because my background was nice and flat, I went ahead and popped it up everywhere else. So thank you to Ohuhu Markers for sponsoring this video, sending me the markers. So super kind of you. Thank you so much for providing us with a discount code so that my awesome followers can get a discount on these markers if they're interested in trying them out. And I'm really thrilled with the outcome. I like the fact that I have an option besides Copic markers, because what I'm finding is Copic markers are getting more and more difficult to find, especially specific colors. And so this is a great alternative. Also, it's a fantastic alternative in my opinion. The quality is just as good as a Copic, but the price point is better. So I'm so far very, very happy with these. I think they're fantastic. I have heard a few people complain about them leaking ink, but I have not had that happen, and I've colored with them quite a bit at this point when I'm recording this video for you. Also, the other thing I want to mention is the cool thing about these is the nib can be flipped upside down or replaced. So if you're coloring and your nib gets wore out, you can just pull it out and flip it over and put it back in, and it's like having a brand new nib on the other side. So I thought that was a really, really cool feature of these markers as well. And again, you can purchase replacement nibs also. So anyway, here's our finished card. I absolutely love how it turned out. I think it's so stinking cute. I didn't really know what to do with this extra little Highland cow, so I decided that he just needed to be glued to the inside of this card. And ultimately, he's adorable. How much do we love him? We love him so much. So this is a cute card. I loved the markers. I will definitely be using them in other videos. In fact, I already have. You haven't seen them all yet, but I've already started using the markers more often. I really love them. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in and hanging out with me for a little while. And I really hope you enjoyed my review of Ohuhu markers. I'll talk to you again very soon. Don't forget my links are in the description below. Bye-bye.